and welcome to this brand new series on my channel where we're going to be talking about the new Dimension 20 series, Mentopolis, and I have a special guest with me. It's Jessica. Do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I am Jessica.
Yes. Jessica is you.
Yeah. I am Luna's sister, and
can you tell? So, if you are a regular viewer on this channel, this series is going to be pretty different to my normal videos. It's not going to be a recap or a breakdown or anything like that. We're basically just like talking about our thoughts about the show. Having a little old chat. I probably will include a few clips here and there of course will be spoilers, so take with that what you will, I guess. What's your experience with Dimension 20?
like nearly zero,
Yeah.
honestly. Like what has come up on my TikTok feed.
Yeah.
And I have done like a couple of like brief listens to the first episodes of like a couple.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you got some of the vibes.
Yeah, like I've got the vibe, but I don't have any of the story or the canon at all, or anything like that. Yeah, so this was very new for me.
Yeah, well, the good thing about Dimension 20 is that all the seasons are, apart from like 2 series, they're all standalone. Yeah. So like it doesn't matter if you never watched any before. All right, so I've got some notes.
Oh, I also have notes.
Just as a little overview. In case you're watching this and you haven't watched the episode, which would be kind of weird, so I recommend doing that. But so Mentopolis follows the lives of the citizens of Mentopolis, which is a city existing within the brain of Elias Hodge, a junior scientist fresh out of university, working for is it the Gobstopper Corporation?
Yeah, Gobstopper.
On Art Deco technology. It looks like Elias has been working on a big project, so the city has had a lot of ordinances put in place by the mayor to make sure that the project gets done. Yeah, that's kind of like the main crux of it. And it has like a noirish feel, which I love.
It's very cool. It's usually not my vibe for whatever reason. Like media that is that kind of like noir detective thing, it's usually just not something that interests or appeals to me. But something about like this setting and that it's kind of like it's so camp, like it's just like, you know, it's just quite goofy. It's much more accessible for me, and like it made me a lot more interested.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I don't think I've ever actually watched any noir films. You know, it's just like the vibe. Like I appreciate the tropes, and I think it was a really great choice starting off with Mike Trapp's character, who is Hunch Curio, Curiosity, and Siobhan's character, Mentopolis, because it was just like it really set the tone.
Yeah. They feel like two really like common character tropes in that setting, and also just their bants.
Oh my god,
like,
the
really
banter!
You know what I mean? You understand my drift, Mr. Curio?
I pick up what you're putting down.
You eating what I'm serving?
Oh, yeah, I'm taking a big old serving of it and gobbling it up with a spoon.
It's just like, it's so good. I feel like, have you ever seen anything else with Mike Trapp in it?
No. Oh, like his face, but I probably have, but I can't,
I just think he is so funny in everything that he does, but he never, like, because a lot of the others will put on like a real like character performance, and I feel like for Mike it always just feels like it's just him, which I really enjoy because he seems like such a great personality. Yeah, but the banter.
Yeah, it was so good. And that also kind of set the tone for like, because I think I went in, like, attention span, no good. And I had concerns about being like, okay, I need to listen and I need to absorb all of this. And then just like the silly banter went on for so long that it was like, I'm fine.
Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah, like,
I'm scooping it up and gobbling it up.
Yeah. Like, that's all right. I can do this. It's fine.
It was so good. I think my favorite part of that was when she's like, do you want a chair? She's like,
No, I'll stand by the window. Thank you so much.
The production, so Dimension 20, if you haven't seen a lot, it's really famous for its sets. Like the sets are always out of this world, and like normally they have a lot of battle maps and stuff, but in later seasons they've started experimenting with like not having battle maps but sort of having this, and like the projections on the back of the dome and the Venetian blind lighting. It was so good.
It looked gorgeous, and the set was just so beautiful off the mark. Like I just wanted to look at it.
It's so visually interesting. I actually think it's probably one of my favorite sets. I think they've only just started in the last few seasons projecting like images onto the dome. Like usually it's just been colors. But it's so engaging.
Yeah. I will say that any Dimension 20 that I have consumed has mostly been like in podcast form. So I've not watched any, and I was not prepared for Brennan's eye contact. Like, literally, that is the thing that caught me initially. I was just like, whoa, oh my God, staring into my soul. I was not.
I love that in the, because you watch the Adventuring Party, right? Which is the talkback show. As well, like Hank Green just saying, "You're so loud." Like, I really appreciated that because it must be like a lot. Yeah. Right there. There's actually a really great scene because Brennan DM'd for Critical Role once for EXU Calamity, and there's a scene where he's playing like a really, really bad guy, and he's basically screaming at the player, like he's yelling, and Marisha is like she's so hunched down because it just must be like so much energy coming out.
He's a bit of a force of nature.
Well, we haven't talked about the marble stuff.
It was really cool. Like I love that, like something, you know, like akin to like inspiration that's like a really like whimsical mechanic comes from a failure. Like it's really cool. Like, yeah, I do love how like quickly it wore off for the players though. Like it just became like a demoralizing like marble rolling down.
I'll take my stupid marble.
Yeah. I love that. And it just looked like so freaking cool. I'm like,
it reminded me of like being a kid and like, I don't think we ever had Mousetrap, but I feel like I coveted it. Like when I was a kid, I just always wanted it. And my son has like a marble raceway where you can like build different marble tracks and stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah, but like metal, there's something about it like being the clinky metal that was like, I don't know. Yeah, it was very cool.
I super enjoyed that. I don't know anything about this game system, Kids on
No,
Bikes.
me neither.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it. I know it's super popular, and I know that I think they used a version of it which was, what's it called? It's like, I think it's Kids on Broomsticks, which is like the kind of magic school version. For their other series. I think Danielle was in that series actually, Misfits and Magic. I love the names of the abilities that they've given them all. What are they again? I think I wrote them down.
Like, I remember like slink, sneak.
They've got sneak, snoop, sharp, sturdy, savvy, and slick. I love alliteration. Like I'm just such a sucker for alliteration.
I think I've got that in my notes. Like I will never get sick of all of these puns and alliterations. Like I'm just eating them. Oh, I have in my early notes that Brennan seemed genuinely bummed that he didn't think of brainstorm.
I know.
Like just like the small moment of deflation, like
because you know he's been working on this series like literally for months, and he's like, God damn it. But yeah, I think it's so delightful. Mike is he's so quick off the draw. I mean, they all are because they're all like experts at improv. Although I must admit, I'm not super familiar with Alex. Oh, and Freddie. Yeah. I'm not as familiar with them. I'm not actually sure what other work they have done, so I'm gonna look them up because they're so good, both of them.
Oh my gosh, amazing. I loved Alex so much.
Yeah, they were so good. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So I really loved. Because I always love Brennan's like introductions. It's so good at setting the tone for the series, and how he kind of characterized like impulses and urges, making backdoor handshake deals with like the higher ups of cognitive functioning. Because something that I really enjoyed about this whole like episode so far was how it made me think about my brain and like how my stupid urges are just making these little deals back there that's making my life fucked because they're like, we're gonna shake a deal with the big boss.
And I liked the kind of discussion of like, we don't need to let the big guy know about this. Like this is just between us.
He does not need to know.
And it's just like it's great to think about, but also terrifying to think about my brain just being like, we're just gonna just do this. Like, don't let her worry about it. We're just gonna do it.
Yeah. And she doesn't want to think about what's in the subconscious. And I was like, I don't want to think about what's in the subconscious. Yeah. So anyway, we're still just talking about literally the opening. We've talked a little bit about Hunch Curio and Imelda Pulse, which so obviously Curiosity and Impulse, which I loved. I loved that Impulse is like high social status. Sorry, go.
Impulse. What is wrong with me? This is like the fourth name. For some reason, I thought pulse, like as in...
like the heartbeat or something?
Yeah.
It's okay. I have D20 brain rot, and you do not yet have that, but she will very soon.
And then I felt solidified in that because talking about her being one of the first families, and I was like, because like you know, when babies are being made, like the heartbeat is the first thing. So
Yeah.
like the pulse is the first thing. So now I feel like that really got me down on a track and I've got to fully reassess.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking about that as impulse as being one of the first things. And I guess that makes sense, right? Like creatures survive because they follow their impulses to like find food or find shelter or whatever. Yeah, so I found that really interesting.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh my God, I have to reassess everything now. I did that with so many names. I don't know if it's like a dyslexia thing or just like a me thing, but like I listened 2.5 times and by the second listen through, still I was reading through your notes and I was like, oh, right.
Well, I think it's just because, well, I mean, I saw a lot of this stuff on Twitter like after the trailer came out. So other people had already come up with this stuff, so it wasn't necessarily just me. Or maybe it was. But also, I think my brain is just primed to analyze shit just because of what I do here on YouTube. But yeah, so I liked that she was really high status because that makes sense to me that like your impulses are such a big part of the way you move through the world. Yeah. And so this is when we kind of learn the whole like crux of the story in that the big guy, Elias, is sending in a packet at his work and it's the last chance to change something in the packet. Yeah. And that seems to be important. Yeah.
And like a lot of like concern about whether or not changes needed to be made before it got sent away. But we don't know what's in the packet or like anything about Elias at all, really, outside of his job. Yeah. And I guess
and that he's stressed
low level what he's feeling. Yeah.
And then Imelda, the impulse followed through to pick up the packet. And I noticed Siobhan said in the adventuring party that there are good impulses. So that means that it was a good thing to do that. But I feel like, okay, so Brennan has this habit of making every big boss of a thing capitalism. Like there's always
I do know that actually.
Yeah, like you've probably seen it on TikTok. Like there's always a rant about capitalism or something. So I have a feeling that whatever is happening, like Elias is probably turning in a project that is gonna make like a lot of money, but is like not good for people or for the environment or something like that. That's kind of what I'm feeling like maybe it's gonna be. Because then there's also a thing about how, I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but like the conscience is a target right now. Yeah. So, yeah. So do we think that Imelda is a good impulse or a bad impulse? Well, Siobhan said, I think she characterized it as being a good impulse. And then they sort of talked about how like, like sometimes you'll do something because you know it's the right thing and then realize that you've actually caused a lot of trouble for yourself because you've done the right thing, you know, which sometimes people don't do because they know it's going to cause a lot of trouble. Anyway. Oh, yeah, it was so fun seeing that whole kind of thing come together because at first I was like, what is happening? Like I didn't understand the whole thing about the newspaper and like...
Yeah, actually, that's why I ended up doing a couple of listen throughs because I think just because they are the people in the brain and they don't have all of the information. Some of the language is like, in talking about the packet, I was like, wait, what? Am I meant to know what's in there? Am I meant to know more about that? Did I miss something? And so I like kind of jumped back a little bit and then kind of like figured out like, oh no, it's just,
all right, so then the next scene is we meet a tension. Anastasia.
I got that one.
Tension. You got that one? Was helpful when they said it. We meet Attention at Cerebella Pacific, which is like the company that handles all the telecommunications and stuff like that, at the synaptic switchboard. And this is so inside out because like that obviously that whole movie is set around the switchboard. Yeah. And the switchboard is shattered and there is a body lying on the floor.
A body? Oh, I mean a body.
So what the fuck is this about?
Yeah. What do you think the like shattered switchboard looks like in the real world? Like
that's
looks like for Elias.
Yeah, that's what I'm so curious about. Like, is something that externally that happened to Elias that has shut down some of his processing, or is it something internal? Like, where
I think my first thought was like, is it like he's disassociating and he's like disconnected from all of like, higher functioning, and he's just, because we're communicated that like he's doing something like we're told that he's doing something like very stressful, something potentially like corrupt, something against his conscience, it would make
Yeah.
sense that he's just like fully disconnected.
Yeah.
And is like cutting away a piece of himself so he can just like power through it.
God.
Which is like, yeah, it's so horrible. But like I don't know. I'm not sure. What was your first impression?
Yeah, I mean, I've just written like, is it some kind of IRL event that's caused this shutdown and processing? Because, but then we later learn that there are like these keys that some of the characters have, which are like direct connections. Yeah. So like, I mean, there are probably smarter people in the comments who will be able to tell us immediately, but like, is there there's like a character that we haven't met yet that is going to be like the big bad.
That's what I was trying to think. Like, if there are characters who hold the keys to have like direct access to the big guy, there's
Like,
impulse and attention. And then like what other brain things?
I mean, yeah. Wow, we're so smart. We are so smart right now. Well, I'm trying to think, like, what would... There was also, there was a moment when the chief of police, which we'll get to that scene in a bit, but he says, the big guy doesn't deserve to feel pleasure, I think. I think that was the quote. Hold on, let me find it. Because I'm wondering if it's some kind of... Because I fucking have no doubt in my mind that Brennan is going to make this fucking heart-wrenching. Yeah. The chief says, I've written it here in capital letters, the big guy doesn't deserve pleasure. Yeah. And I think that is bad, right? So maybe there is like some kind of... we're going to meet some kind of character, which is a characterization of like negative self-talk or self-doubt or self-loathing even, something really intense that is fucking with Elias. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we did meet Madam Loathing.
Oh my God, that scene broke my heart.
It was so awful. That's skipping.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's get back on track. All right. So anyway, we meet Attention. Yeah. So she's there and she works for like the news report. I find that so funny that like the Attention are like the news reporters that like pay attention to this. So she's a scrappy small time reporter. Although we later learn that she's actually from...
She's like an heiress.
She's like an heiress, yeah. Which I guess makes sense. Like attention and focus would definitely be something, one of those like primary, I don't know what you would call it, like core abilities or something, because that's how you survive, right?
Yeah.
By paying attention to things. That's why I'm not always surviving so well. So this is when the cop says, we don't need to bring this event to the attention of the big guy, which I found very funny.
He doesn't have to worry about it.
But she snoops around and meets the sister of the dead guy who was called Norrell, which I've now just realized because I just got the pun, because the family is the ology family and he's Norrell, neurology. Yeah. I didn't get that until just then. God damn you, Brennan. But yeah, he was manning the switchboard last night alone, and he often went down to the red light district to Sugars, which we see later.
I love how Attention was like to his sister. Do you know what kind of shit he was into?
Oh, yeah. He's lying here dead on the ground, but tell me about his proclivities.
What kind of weird stuff does he like? Yeah.
I love immediately this ongoing joke of Stacey fake name. Like, it's just so funny. But I saw someone on Reddit was like, Sue Denim. It's right there. Sue Denim. And I'm like, God damn it. Brennan will be kicking himself about that one too, I'm pretty sure. Or Siobhan will, I guess. So she kind of snoops around. She learns that, he was going down to the red light district at Sugars, which we sort of find out later is kind of like purveying illegal like oxytocin because the guy hasn't been touched in a long time.
Yeah, and hadn't experienced love or affection.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. I feel so sorry for this guy.
The whole like sugar section was like 100% my favorite bit in the whole episode. I had a real love-hate reaction to it. Some bit like the bit with he pulls up the guy who was knocked out and gives him like a special concoction, which is that one time that the barber like whispered in his ear. Oh my God, I found that so repulsive, but it was just Oh, it was so fantastic, so fucking good. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, oh.
Next time you go to the hairdresser, you're gonna be like,
Oh my god.
don't do it.
And your note about the sneezing as well.
Yeah, and like how sneezing is. Oh yeah, it's a good feeling. Like I never thought about it. Yeah. Yeah. So so with attention. So she snoops around a bit there. We don't seem to learn too much. But then she goes to the newspaper, the Daily Observer, which is headed by Freddie Focus. I fucking loved him so much.
God damn it, I want that in 24-point bold font, top of the paper, front page, get it to the presses. Our ass crack is sweaty. That needs to be the first thing on everybody's mind.
And I love that too because as someone, like, I have a lot of sensory things going on, so yeah, when there's like a sensory thing happening to me, like I cannot focus on anything but that thing. So that really struck true to me. Yeah. All right, so then we get down to sugars, and we meet Freddie's character Dan Fox. I fucking hated this character. Like I loved him, but oh my god, he's just so repulsive.
I think that's why well, like I said earlier, like the whole setting and like Dan Fox and everything was like, I love this. This is so great, but it's so fucking gross. Like I just
It's so funny because when they kept talking about like it being the pleasure place, like I thought, oh, it's all gonna be all like sexual, saucy stuff. And it's really funny to me that the character who is sort of personifying pleasure, like his main word is like depravity, like on his character sheet. So it's like, and I guess that makes a lot of sense. Like, but yeah, I suppose you could have gone for a more like saucy kind of character. But I love this whole like, skeezy, with the unbuttoned shirt, like.
Then also like some like lighter touches throughout, like long hot shower and which was great. So yeah, I loved her. Like her character art was so good.
Oh, all the character art in this has been so good. I feel like they've really given us a lot of extra bits of character art. I mean, I didn't watch like Never After, which was the season before this one. Not yet, anyway. So yeah, I'm not sure. Or Dungeons and Drag Queens. We have to watch Dungeons and Drag Queens. I haven't watched that yet either. Oh my god. I'm going to convert Jessica. We're going to watch every single season at some point. Oh, and then we meet a bad urge, an intrusive thought.
Yeah, I thought that bit was really cool. The like, the kind of like unsettling description of like when Brennan explains that this is an intrusive thought. And just like the kind of like, it immediately made me go like, oh my gosh. Like,
oh no, get out of here. Yeah.
Like, as someone who suffers with intrusive thoughts, like I had like a really good frame of reference, and so that was like a genuinely like quite a dark moment, and I think it was to get a bit serious, I think it was handled really well.
Yes, I agree. Like it was the way when he's describing like the heist for the birthday cake, like that felt like a fun way to explore that idea of an intrusive thought without it being too dark, you know, because obviously people who suffer intrusive thoughts have very dark thoughts, you know. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think it was like it brought some like seriousness to it, but then making it about the birthday cake like brought it back to the lighter side, which was really cool. And I liked the character. I found him intriguing, and I was really like intrigued. It immediately made me go like, oh, I wonder if there are like other intrusive thoughts here, and like how,
and if they're going to be darker ones.
Yeah, and how that is handled by the other, you know, people and impulses around. Yeah,
for sure.
Oh, I did note here that the music and sound in this section was really cool. Like I really liked. I really liked the music and like the kind of like background chatter. Like it was.
It really immerses you straight into it.
Yeah. It was like particularly like this scene. I found it very immersive and like very engaging. I feel like it just filled out the world like really well. Like I could see it all very clearly, and it made me really excited to see the rest of it. Yeah.
I will say, I think that is something that Dimension 20 is just an absolute standout for. And I think it's because most of them have, they all, like, pretty much all of them have, like, an improv background. I mean, Brennan is one of the greatest improvisers. Like, he teaches at UCB, which is a huge improv company. But, like, they also have such a background in film, television, sketches. So I think they really approach it like it's very different to Critical Role, which is just kind of like, here is our game, and like here it is. No, you know, they have a few bells and whistles, but not very many. Whereas I feel like Dimension 20 really approaches it of like, here's our opening scene, like it's a movie, and then we move to the next scene, and it's very like tailored and refined and like, well, you know, polished. So it's a super different vibe, but I mean I love it, and it helps my attention as well, because I mean, you guys know I love Critical Role, but you're watching this video, so I'll say, but like sometimes it can meander and it can get a bit like, it can drag out, and like the pacing is a bit off sometimes because they don't edit anything, whereas this show is like, they really keep the pace
it was
on.
very clean, and
and they cut out a lot of stuff like doing maths and things that takes too long, you know, so it just kind of keeps the pace going. Oh no, the other character we meet is Hans Schadenfreude. How do you say it? Schaden?
I have no idea.
I had to Google that word. I didn't know what it meant. Like, I'd heard it before, but I didn't know what it meant. So it means, in case there are other people out there, I'm sure there's going to be someone else out there who didn't know what it meant. Pleasure derived by someone from another person's misfortune, which I found so funny the whole time when he gets up to do his type 5 and everyone hates it and he's like, it's so gross. Yeah, and I liked that idea too, that like everybody has that little part of themselves that, you know, it's like those stupid, when you watch someone fall down a set of stairs on TikTok and you like can't help but laugh, you know, like it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's like funniest home videos.
I do know what you mean,
like,
but that was so specific.
You know when someone falls down the stairs, it just breaks all their legs. And they got more than 2. All right, what else do we got? Yeah, so that oxytocin is illegal here, which is interesting. And I noticed that a lot of they sort of mentioned a couple of times that in other places that like cortisol is the only thing that they're allowed to have. So that's like the stress hormone, right? Cortisol? Yeah, I'm not very across my I should be, but I'm like, I don't really know what the difference is between like serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin. Like, I think they're all just different hormones, right?
Yeah, oxytocin is like and I could fully be wrong.
Just do it.
Oxytocin, I'm leaning in.
Do it, your whole chest.
Oxytocin's like the love hormone.
Yeah.
All I know about it is like, it's like the hormone that you produce like when you have a baby. You get like a big flood of oxytocin. Yeah, that's all I know about. I'm sure you get it other times, but this is the baby hormone.
Baby hormones, yeah. And then the cortisol is stress, and then like dopamine and serotonin. I don't really know what the difference is, but they're like the pleasure, like good feelings. Someone educate us, please.
How you be having ADHD and don't know about dopamine?
I mean, I know that I want dopamine, but I don't know what the difference is between like serotonin and dopamine, because I hear people saying like, oh, this is really boosting my serotonin. Or like I'm getting my I think dopamine is more like a quick fix, like a quick because
and like I feel
I should know this. I do have an appointment with my psychiatrist on Monday.
In my head, like serotonin and melancholy is not a hormone, but you know what I mean. Like happy hormone, sad hormone, and then dopamine is like akin to like stress, but it's like the happy type of stress.
Oh, okay.
Is that so rambly? But that's how it sits in my brain.
Okay, that's
like
helpful to me.
serotonin is just like general feeling, and dopamine is like a feeling,
like excitement.
I was about to say a feeling that you feel. Like excite. There's a word for that. Excitement that comes with a physical sensation.
Right,
I don't think that's right, but that's
okay.
That's what I
Don't worry. YouTube will tell us that we're wrong. So and then we meet
the fix.
So the whole reason I got you on board to do this is because you're obsessed with Hank Green, right?
Yes. Well, obsessed is a strong word. I enjoy some Hank Green. I do enjoy him.
Do you know, I realized it was so funny because he's on my algorithm so much. And I didn't realize that I wasn't following him on anything.
Oh, really?
But it was just I interact with his stuff so much that the algorithm was just showing it to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even following.
Aggressively.
Yeah.
Well, I have enjoyed the Green Brothers. I am like an old school like Tumblr girly. Like I was in the trenches of Tumblr
trenches,
back in the day. So to like any kind of like Hank Green, John Green media, I'm just eaten up. So it was definitely a pull for me, and it was worth it because he was so good.
He was incredible.
I don't know how I expected him what I expected him to be like, but I was surprised, like, at his character choice.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
he said
loved
in
it so much.
Like he said in the adventuring party, it's very different to what he normally plays, you know.
Yeah.
So I think, it seemed like it was, but he was such a natural at it. Like it did not seem like
oh
it was
my
out
gosh,
of his
just
comfort zone.
immediately was like, just in there.
And to go, I mean, like, to go toe-to-toe with someone like Brennan, who can really lay the intensity on, and he was just so intense. So much so that Brennan was, like, shrinking back in fear. It was so good. So, so anyway, Hank the Fix, the epitome of hyperfixation, and the way that is characterized is that when you're supposed to be focusing on something, the fix will go and eliminate all distractions. And I thought that was such a fun way to
it was really cool.
to think about hyperfixation. I'd never really thought about it that way.
You kind of think of hyperfixation's job just being to fixate on the thing. You know, so I like it that in this instance it's a much more active role of like not just focusing
but like keeping
getting rid of everything else away. Yeah, it was very cool. And just the energy that came behind it was, and the aggressive like snake dick facts. And actually
I was trying to Google, I'm like, what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense to me.
So actually at the top of my notes, because I didn't want to forget this, but I have forgotten why I wrote this down, but this is from Adventuring Party. My very first note says multi-path vaginal canal.
Oh yeah. Well, that's because several animals have multi-path vaginal canals. So I know of one. Okay, this is me showing one of my hyperfixations. Also, there's a particular kind of duck that has they can like block off one of the chambers, and they can send the duck penis, which is a corkscrew, to another chamber where the guy's like, yeah, I'm doing my thing, and the chick's like, nothing is gonna happen.
It's the auxiliary vagina.
Dude, I want an auxiliary vagina. Just free inbuilt birth control, baby.
Oh my gosh, but I just loved that Hank Green was like, those fucking multi-path vaginal canals, what a joke. Like, in all seriousness. Like,
it was so good. But did you see on TikTok he shared another fact that he was going to go with? Or maybe it's going to come up later in the season.
Oh, was it about the skinks? I saw that one.
Oh, so if you didn't see, he shared this story or this fact about how there are skinks or salamanders, skinks, I think. Yeah, like some kind of skink that grows extra skin, trigger warning, I suppose, to feed its children. So just the kids it sloughs off its skin.
The word sloth, I can't deal. But you know what? It reminds me of like when we were, I would have been a kid. Maybe you were like 16 or something like that. You were like really obsessed with animal fun facts.
Yeah. Hey, who would have guessed I would get diagnosed with ADHD and autism as an adult?
You had this book with all these animal facts in them, and you would just read them to me. And one of them was that echidnas sweat milk.
Oh, yeah,
for their babies to drink up.
That's
I think about that at least once a week. Like, I just can't stop thinking about it. Literally, I think about it all the freaking time.
Now
I
he's
can't,
fixating.
like... You just said that, and it's been stuck in my brain forever.
Yeah.
I think about, like, what does that look like? Can you see the milk? Did the babies lick the milk off? Like,
I mean, I don't remember anything else about it other than that, but now I'm going to Google it. It's a fun fact for you.
Ruining my life.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so the fix overhears this conversation that Donnie Urgis is having about stealing a slice of birthday cake. I found that so funny. Of like, I saw a birthday cake in the lunchroom.
So here's the plan, fellas. It's the heist of the century. We're supposed to be working all afternoon, but here's the thing. The big guy saw a birthday cake in the staff break room.
Do you know, I felt so called out because my workplace often has like sweet treats in the staff room, and I have the biggest sweet tooth, and I just can't. Like, I go and I take an appropriate amount, and then I come back in and I'm like, none of these people were here before. They don't know that I already had some. I'm going to jail.
Yeah, I'm the same, but at my work there's only four of us in the entire
There's
workplace.
25 of us.
So
you got to get in.
I can't get away with it though, because it's like, I'm the only person who was there that day, you know, like, yeah. It was very funny. But well, before he goes to, like, he ends up eliminating this urge. But before that happens, the chief of police, Alexander Tightass, raids the club, basically saying that, yeah, the big guy doesn't deserve pleasure. Until Elias's project is completed, no one is allowed to feel good. I mean, it's a whole mood right there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, that's heavy. Yeah.
I mean, obviously not to a huge extent, because I'm still trying to have a good balance, but like, I mean, people who are regular viewers here will know that I'm like hustling right now. I'm trying to make content creation my like full-time gig. And yeah, I feel very much like that. It's like, gotta go. Like there's no, you know, you can't stop and, you know, you can't think about that. And I'm trying to sort of find a good balance, because obviously I don't want to, but I mean, I have a kid and, you know, like it just, I feel like if it was just me and Jared, I would probably be more like, right, I'm shutting myself in a room, just getting it done. But, you know, anyway. So but it just, I've just written, oh my God, no, under that line, like.
Yeah. It's just like that instinct to be like, no, I will be happy and have joy, like, after I have done all of these grown-up things that I have to do. And like, it's, you know, it's just like a good reminder that like life continues to happen while you're trying to do the things. So like, you know, maybe be living life. Like,
and that's why I'm pretty sure we're gonna get some fucking capitalism vibes in here, because it's all about like trying to, how much are you gonna hustle to uphold capitalism versus like finding joy, you know. So that was pretty rough. And he goes and corners the intrusive thought, which just turns into mist.
I also love that Brennan's explanation of it will reappear elsewhere as a more appropriate impulse. And then it makes me think about like what, like, you know, like really like the unserious impulsive thoughts I have, and then turning into normal impulses. I should go steal all of the candy from the staff room, nobody would know, and then being like, or I could just go get a Mars bar after work, calm down.
For me, I think it's like I could buy these 15 things that I have in my Amazon cart, just put it on my fucking credit card, you know, and then being like, no, we actually don't need all those things. Just one thing is fine, you know, like, stuff like that. I think it was fun. Okay, so then we get our next scene, which is Fix has a meeting with Ambition, the district attorney, so Ambition. And hyperfixation is working for Ambition, which I think makes sense, you know, if you're trying to achieve something at work or whatever, you have to fixate on it, you know, to get it done. But it does make me wonder how, like, if we're going to see hyperfixation, the Fix, turning away from Ambition, you know, to work with the other members of the group. Because, like, at the moment, Ambition is working for the city governance, which appears to be not happy that Impulse has overridden things and picked up the packet. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm curious to see that play out.
I also just think like the Fix has already been shown to have some like kind of uncomfortable feelings around what's happening and what, you know, other people expect of him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him turning towards the good. So Ambition, the district attorney, gives the Fix a new target, which is Alex's character, Conrad Shin's Conscience. Just a small boy. And that's that time that he sort of first feels like, I don't know if I feel good about this doesn't feel right.
Which is interesting. So I've just written, what project is Elias working on that it needs him to kill his conscience? Like,
And it just adds to the question of like, what kind of person is Elias?
I know,
you know, because if you look at all of the things individually, you could say, well, like, oh, obviously he's a terrible person, but I don't know, like, maybe he is just a guy. And
well, we kind of see some themes that in the next scene, which is when we meet Conrad and his basset hound, which is Justification. Because it's true, like, people every day make justifications for things. You know, we all have stuff that our conscience says, but you go, oh, you know, but it's just this one time, or and that definitely felt uncomfortable for me to think about. You know,
the whole scene with Conrad was so good, and I don't like Do you think that was improvised or like well planned? There's the specific, I think you wrote in your notes, they're like, well, I gave him all the facts and he made a choice.
Yeah.
Like that was like, whoa, like that was a
Shut
lot.
up, I'm a good person, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've all had moments like that. And we
Yeah.
make those decisions every day. Yeah, so this is when we learn that, Conrad is the one who's been rearranging the papers to try and tell the citizens that there's something important about this packet, which Impulse sees. And just this whole like Conrad being such a people pleaser, like doesn't want to tell people stuff too much because it upsets
like
people.
trying to like the balance between the greater good and not upsetting people. It's just
Sorry, I've like somehow there we go. Sorry, I somehow opened the camera on my thing. Yeah, and just like finding any excuse not to talk to us. When he's like, bonjour. Oh, well, I don't speak French. Sorry.
I don't speak that. And then being like, okay, I'll go learn French and then I'll come back. Like, no.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Then Conrad is like, oh, then we meet the mayor as well, Leon Logic, who reassures the general populace that the downed telecommunications is just like part of general maintenance. So basically telling the brain like everything's fine, no need to worry. This is when Imelda and Hunch arrive at Sugar's, and we see that Imelda is being followed by someone in a car. Which we later learn are like they're goons. So Attention also arrives and then sits down with Imelda, and that's when we learn about Attention having like this kind of higher status. Well, we learn a bit more about it. And that Imelda says her parents are worried about her. Which I think, I wonder if we're gonna get to meet her parents and who that's gonna be. Like,
I'm excited for that. I'm really interested in like the autocracy of it all. You know.
Okay, so this is when this is probably my favorite scene in the whole episode, which is when the Fix goes to Madame Loathing's home for wayward interests. God, this bit got me.
As soon as I heard this, I thought of you.
So emotional. Yeah. Like, oh shit. Because as someone who has so many wayward interests, it just made me feel really sad. And there's something about that like childhood wonder that we are sort of forced to let go of when we enter capitalism. Like, of just like that little kid, like, do you know about reptiles? Like, you know, it was so cute.
And Hank is really great at capturing the whimsical nature of childlike wonder in the way that he speaks. So having him be a part of that scene was just it was so perfect. And it was so like heart-wrenching. And just I think you wrote down the quote of,
none of us know what this man is gonna become. There's a lot of life left. Any one of these kids could be rediscovered at any moment.
I'm sure I'll tell them that Mr. The Fix is going to come along any day now and adopt all of them.
That literally made me well up because, I think a big part of my life stuff is just that, like, I just want to do everything. Like, I just want to do everything, and it's so frustrating to me that I can't do everything I want to do. I want to learn how to crochet. I want to make more videos. I've got a cross-stitch project going. I want to, just so much stuff I want to do and I want to fixate on. Like, I was a dancer for 10 years. That was my full-time job, and now that's a wayward interest that's like in a little orphanage somewhere.
I think it stood out for me as someone who like spent a lot of my teen years and early adulthood trying to be very grown up and trying to like I got married very young and I had my daughter quite young and so spent a lot of time like painting this picture of myself.
And you moved away from home.
Yeah, and I moved away from home. State, I was 20 when I moved away out of state. And so I was presenting myself to new people and making new connections, and I really wanted to be like grown up, serious Jess. And so what I did was just like cut off any like sense of childlike wonder. And I am in a very different place in my life now, and my relationship that I have at the moment, my partner is very, very supportive of me recapturing those childlike wonders. And so like I've recently finished my first ever video game. And like I'm gonna get teary about this. It's such a big deal for me. To like, you know, like so I'm thinking about all those like little like abandoned like childhood interests that like at the moment, at this point of my life, I feel like I'm focusing on going to those childhood interests and like, you know, picking them up and holding them back to my chest. Yeah. Like, anyway. And like, it really hit me. It was just it's such a beautiful and sad concept. Yeah.
And I think it's, because I think like, cause you're 4 years younger than me. So like our sort of generation but like, I feel like especially like millennial, are you considered millennial? Yeah, so I guess I'm an elder millennial. But yeah, like the millennials kind of rejecting this idea of having to grow up and become serious. I feel like that's kind of been a big theme for millennials is like, or maybe it isn't, maybe that's just my bubble, but I just kind of get the impression.
I don't know, but it's my bubble too.
Yeah. I get the impression that like, we're just sort of throwing off this idea. And because we fucking can't. Like who, like, I mean, I was very, very lucky to be able to purchase, purchase a mortgage right before things really just fucking shit hit the fan. Like, you know, we can't grow up because they're like, we're not able to achieve those grown up goals, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's what happened with like a lot of my peers. Like we all wanted to be like so serious and grown up, and then so many of us just couldn't. Like I freaking just couldn't do it, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go buy a Barbie doll. Like that's all I have.
Yeah, for sure. I think so I think there's been a real recapturing of joy, and like especially too that like all this just in particular, it's very at the moment like all Y2K 90s stuff kind of coming back in. The Barbie movie obviously just came out. Like everything feels very much of like recapturing some of that like childhood kind of joy.
Yeah, so it really got me thinking about like what my wayward interests are and like, you know, if they are things that I want to like re-explore, or if they're things that I just need to like wave at through the orphanage window or
Yeah, because I was the same. I was like thinking of all the things that I've picked up and put down and things that I didn't necessarily like. It was good that I moved on from them, but like I still wish I could have them in my life. But I know that like it's not really possible to have them in the same way as I had them then, you know? Especially with like dancing and stuff like that. Like it was my full-time thing for a long time. And I know it just wouldn't be the same if I went back. And like I can still go back, but it's just, you know, it's not my like full-time thing anymore.
Like I gave up dancing earlier than you, but I have tried to go back in the past, and it's like no, it's definitely a wayward interest, but it's like a weird, uncomfortable, sad feeling to think that you put so much of yourself into something and like maybe its time is over. But
I think we've had a great example in that, and like our mom is, I mean, that's probably where I get my ADHD from. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying that. But yeah, she's been a person who has explored so many interests over the course of our lives,
and so many facets of herself.
She's literally like mosaicing pots in her living room right now. Like she's done painting, she's done resin art, she's done what else, like a million, like textile arts, she's done costuming, like she's just done so many things, and she just is so good at all of them because she just super fixates on them, and then she'll just let go and she'll just never do it again.
And she like what I really admire about her as well is that she doesn't exhibit like a sense of grief or loss when she moves on from something. So that's something that like, you know, like I'm saying, it's really sad to move on from your interests, but then also at the same time, like it's really cool that our mum is able to have these interests and then just like Mary Kondo them, just like, you know, like I'm finished, and then she just walks away and she does not look back.
I know. Ever. It's wild to me. Anyway, God, that was a really long tangent about interest, but Hank Green, you fucked me up. You fucked me up with that scene. Jesus. Well, and Brennan and Hank, you fucked me up. Yeah, anyway, and I also just thought how sad it was that those interests were being looked over by loathing. Like I thought that was a really interesting choice.
Yeah, I actually didn't like that. Didn't flag for me as like, oh, that's interesting until like I think I went through your notes maybe. And I was like, yeah, because it's one thing to leave an interest behind, but it's another thing to like capture those interests in like a ball of loathing. Like, why?
I wonder if there's some like resentment there because he's like dropped everything to focus on. I don't know. But like we all have those interests, like like loving reptiles and shit when you're a kid. Like anyway, I thought it was interesting. And I guess it also just plays into the trope of like the mean orphanage kind of, so it could just be related to that. Okay, we're back at Sugars. We are getting towards the tail end now. So we go back at Sugars. This is kind of when the whole group meets because Conrad is there. Dan Fox like accosts him. You got to say the full name, Dan Fox, every time. And then how do they stop fight? I think Hunch like pulls Dan off of Conrad or something.
And then Conrad legs it.
Conrad like sneaks out, but not before we first learn that Imelda tells Conrad that she got the big guy to take the packet off the desk. Like she actually listened to the newspaper, which is what he wanted, and that she has that gold key that allows her to speak directly to the big guy. And then Brennan is like, the ruined part of the switchboard was a cover for a keyhole. And then we learned that Attention also has a key, but she does not wear it on her. She keeps it in the freezer, which I found interesting. Does that mean that there's like a disconnect between Attention, like Elias is not paying attention because Attention is not speaking directly to Elias right now?
Well, I guess that could like tie into what I said earlier about him like kind of dissociating from his mind. Because he's not paying attention. He's just, and then he's like, oh, but maybe if I just, I feel like that makes sense. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's my like initial feeling about that. But I guess we'll see. I think we'll probably see more of that like reasonably early on.
It also felt very specific that she said like in my freezer, like just kind of the idea of like something cold. When you freeze something, you like slow it down. It goes into like hibernation. I think that was interesting too. But then she's really keen to be like this big name reporter. So the two things don't seem to match. Up. Okay, so then Conrad sneaks away, tries to get into a car that has like the two goons in there, that then go to attack, but then the highway above collapses and crushes the car, and all through the city, things begin to crash. So all the neurological pathways are being shut down, I guess.
Which again, like, what does that look like on the outside? Because that feels extreme.
It reminds me a lot of Inside Out when I think it's the character's name is Riley.
Like Riley's sense of self is breaking down.
And like the bridges that connect the switchboard to those islands just collapse. So I wonder if it's something like that.
Like a crisis of conscience.
Ooh. Is that did we do a thing? And that's where the episode ends. So just absolutely incredible. So the last questions that I've got is like, what project is, we've touched on all of them, I think. Like, what project is Elias working on? Why does his conscience need to be killed?
And what kind of person is he?
That this is sort of what's happening. What happened at the switchboard, and how is, I'm so interested in how is that reflected in Elias's reality? I don't know if we're ever going to get that question answered because we're seeing this. We're seeing this through the perspective. I wonder if we're ever going to get to go see like if they go to the telecommunications place maybe and we can see what Elias is seeing like through his eyes or something. That would be really cool. Well, please let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you would like to discuss this further, I do have a dropout section in my Discord as well, which you can jump into. I think that's it for stuff. Like and subscribe and whatnot. And if you are watching this and you're interested in watching Critical Role, that's kind of my whole deal. So check out, I'll put it over my own face here, a video. I don't know what video it's going to be, but I'll put one there. All right, bye!